Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, your sister and host Sidra Amin is here today with another truly inspiring liberty story that touches the heart and strengthens faith. This story is about a sister from the Netherlands. Her birth name was Felicia, and after accepting Islam, she chose the Islamic name Amina. During her education in the field of teaching, she first became familiar with Islam. Her friendship with several Muslim colleagues gradually drew her closer to the religion, and eventually her journey led her to a mosque in Gambia, where she recited the Shahada and accepted Islam. It's a beautiful and deeply moving journey. So let's listen to how Allah guided her heart and filled her life with the light of faith and peace.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, my dear kind-hearted people. How are you all doing? My name is Felicia Dreyfus, but now, after accepting Islam, I also have another name, Amina. I'll talk more about that name later in the video. Today, I want to share my life story with you, how I found Islam and eventually became Muslim. And before I start, I want to say something very clearly right at the beginning. I'm not perfect. As you can see, I'm not wearing a hijab yet or anything like that. But I understand that this whole thing is a journey. I'm learning everything step by step, slowly moving forward. Someone once told me something very beautiful. The most important thing is the relationship you build with Allah. Once that connection becomes strong, the other things come with time. You learn them gradually. If I want to tell my story properly, I have to go back a little, to my childhood. I grew up in a household where religion, honestly, wasn't taken very seriously. My parents didn't raise us according to any particular religion. We never really went to church, and we didn't receive religious education growing up. Now, that doesn't mean religion didn't exist in my family at all. Different members of my family actually had different religious backgrounds. For example, my grandmother followed Catholic Christianity, while my grandparents on the other side were part of Jehovah's Witnesses, which is a specific group within Christianity. But even with all those different backgrounds around us, my parents never pushed religion onto us. So growing up, religion simply wasn't a big topic in my life. Later on, when I got older, I decided that I wanted to become a teacher. In the Netherlands, if you want to become a teacher, you have to complete a specific type of education, basically a teacher training program. During that program, there was a stage where we had to study different world religions. We had to take an exam, and to prepare for it, we needed to learn about religions from all over the world. The purpose of this subject was actually very practical. When you're teaching in a classroom, you'll have students from many different cultures and religious backgrounds. To be a good teacher, it's important to understand where your students are coming from. And that's when I first started properly learning about Islam. Before that, Islam was just a word I had occasionally heard about on TV or in the news. But now I was actually studying it, learning about its principles, beliefs, and worldview. After some time, I started working at a school, actually the same school where I still work today. Several of my colleagues were Muslim teachers. Over time, they didn't remain just co-workers. They became really good friends of mine. I'm naturally a very curious person. I ask a lot of questions, and I genuinely love learning about other people and their backgrounds. So I would constantly ask them questions about Islam, especially while I was preparing for my exam. I'd go up to them and say things like, "Hey, I read about this concept. What does it actually mean? How do you understand it? How do you practice this in your daily life?" And honestly, they would always explain everything so calmly and kindly. During Ramadan, the atmosphere at school would become really beautiful. Even though I wasn't Muslim at the time, I would sometimes fast for a few days during Ramadan, not the entire month, just maybe 3 or 4 days. The main reason was that I wanted to join them for iftar, the meal where they break their fast. And to be honest, I absolutely loved those moments. Breaking the fast together with them was such a warm and joyful experience. At the end of Ramadan, Eid was celebrated at a pretty big scale at the school. There was a lot of happiness and excitement. Through all of this, I wasn't just learning about Islam from books anymore. I was seeing Islam being lived out in real life. I've heard many revert stories where people spend years studying books or reading tons of online literature before accepting Islam. But my journey was a little different. I learned about Islam by watching Muslims around me, observing their daily lives, their character, their behavior. I saw how they fasted, how they broke their fast together, how their religion was actually a living part of their daily life. Slowly but surely, Islam stopped feeling like something distant or foreign. It started feeling like a religion I was seeing up close, something real and meaningful. During this time, I also went through a deeper spiritual journey. This might sound a little unusual, but along the way, I explored spirituality in a way that helped me look inward, learning to reflect on my own soul and inner self. You could say it was somewhat connected to ideas similar to spiritual mysticism, where a person tries to understand their inner being and their relationship with the Creator. That journey actually helped me understand the concept of God much better. Gradually, I started talking to Allah more and more. I continued asking my friends and colleagues many questions about Islam. At the same time, I also started watching a lot of content online, especially on YouTube. I watched Islamic lectures, listened to educational videos, and heard the stories of many people who had accepted Islam. Little by little, things started making sense in my mind. My thoughts became clearer, my heart became more certain, and eventually both my heart and mind came to the same conclusion, that Islam truly is the right and truthful path to reach God, and that realization completely changed my life.
Before we continue, I just want to ask you for a small favor. If you are enjoying this video, please take a second to hit the subscribe button. On this channel, I regularly share real-life stories of people who have accepted Islam. The main goal of this channel is to help spread the message of Islam around the world, and honestly, that's only possible with your support. So please subscribe and be part of this mission. And one more thing, whenever the sister in the video makes a dua, don't forget to write Ameen in the comment section. Jazakumullah.
Then another major turning point came into my life. I met Musa. Musa is Muslim. At first we just started getting to know each other, talking more, spending time together, and eventually we became really good friends. Over time, our connection grew stronger, and then one day he asked me if I would marry him. That moment was really special for me, but at the same time, it was also a big decision. There were a lot of steps we had to go through before reaching marriage, and honestly, I needed some time. I wanted to be completely sure that if I ever decided to accept Islam, it would be a decision I made for myself, not just for someone else. A lot of my non-Muslim friends, and even some of my cousins back in the Netherlands, ask me the same question again and again. So, are you accepting Islam because of Musa? And I always told them the same thing. I had already been studying Islam before I even met Musa. I had already tried fasting sometimes. I had gone to the mosque with my Muslim colleagues. I had already been learning and exploring the religion. So honestly, even if Musa had never come into my life, I believe I would still eventually have accepted Islam. Then the moment finally came when Musa and I traveled together to Gambia. And there, in a mosque in Gambia, I officially accepted Islam. That moment was incredibly special to me. I still remember it very clearly. When I recited the Shahada with the Imam, something happened inside me that is really hard to put into words. I felt this deep sense of peace, almost like a light had filled my heart. It was such a calm, beautiful moment. Of course, I was also a little nervous because not only were we planning to get married, but becoming Muslim was also a huge step in my life. But the moment I said the Shahada, a deep calmness came over me. It felt like my life was starting a brand new chapter, something beautiful and meaningful. And during that same visit to Gambia, Musa and I also got married there. While we were staying in Gambia, I visited the mosque several times. That's where I started learning how to pray Salah. Of course, I still have a lot to learn. I'm taking everything slowly, step by step. I read a lot, I listen to podcasts, and I follow many Muslim YouTubers and creators on social media so I can keep learning more about Islam. Another interesting thing happened while I was in Gambia. That's when I started using my Islamic name more often. My Islamic name is Amina. When I went back to the Netherlands, I told my friends, colleagues, and family members about it. Most of my Muslim friends found it really easy to start using that name, but honestly, not everyone is used to it yet. So right now, I kind of respond to both names. For example, this YouTube channel is still under my birth name, Felicia. But if someone calls me Amina, I respond to that too. And especially when I meet new people and they ask me my name, I usually say Amina now instead of Felicia. I'm honestly incredibly grateful for the path my life has taken because it led me to Islam. Islam is such a beautiful religion. There is so much peace in it. It is also very supportive and respectful toward women. One thing that really touched me is that Islam doesn't have this idea of inherited or original sin. Instead, the concept of forgiveness is very strong. It teaches so many valuable lessons about life. I remember that even before I became Muslim, one of my colleagues once said something to me. They told me, "Someday you're going to become a really good practicing Muslim." And I remember thinking, kind of shocked, wait, what? Me? But now that I am Muslim, I understand what they meant. The way you live your life, the way you represent yourself in front of others, the way you treat people, all of these things are very important in Islam. And like I said before, I still have a lot to learn. I'm reading, listening, practicing, and slowly learning everything step by step. One thing about Islam that I find incredibly beautiful is the concept of intention. In Islam, it's said that the true value of any action depends on the intention behind it. If you do something with a sincere intention, a small act can become very meaningful. I still ask a lot of questions, and I'm very grateful that my friends, colleagues, my husband and my husband's family are all very humble when they guide me. Even though they have been Muslim much longer than me and obviously know more, they still say things like, "We don't know everything either. We are still learning too." And I really appreciate that honesty and humility. By the time you're watching this video, it will probably be the month of Ramadan. So, Ramadan Mubarak. I hope this Ramadan brings me new lessons and helps me develop good habits that I can continue even after Ramadan ends. Interestingly, even before becoming Muslim, I used to fast occasionally during Ramadan. Not all 30 days, maybe just 1 or 2 days sometimes. Then my friends and I would gather for iftar and enjoy breaking the fast together. Looking back now, it almost feels like those small moments were slowly preparing me, like they were already becoming a part of my life. almost as if all of this had been part of Allah's plan all along. Now I'm also slowly learning to use Islamic phrases in my everyday life, and not just say them, but actually feel them from the heart. For example, saying Alhamdulillah, which means thanking Allah, or saying Bismillah before eating or drinking. In fact, I once saw in a YouTube video that you should even say Bismillah when you start cooking. It helps keep your intention pure and brings blessing into what you're doing. There is still so much ahead of me, so much to learn, so much to grow. And along this journey there are many moments that teach you humility, remind you of who you really are, and give you some of the most valuable lessons in life. I also have a notebook with me. In that notebook, I practice writing Arabic, but that's not all I use it for. I also write down the things I've learned during my journey into Islam. Anytime I hear something beautiful, learn an important lesson, or receive a piece of good advice, I jot it down. That way I can go back later and read it again and remind myself of what I've learned. I've also created a WhatsApp group for myself. In that group, I share videos that inspire me, or I save pictures and reminders that motivate me on this journey. So whenever I have some free time, I go back and watch them again, and it helps me continue learning and growing. Now that a new Ramadan is coming, I really feel like doing something a little creative during this time. Maybe I'll decorate my home a bit to make the Ramadan atmosphere feel more special. And I'd also love to create some kind of art that reminds me of this journey, something that can strengthen my learning and keep me motivated. So yeah, I think in this video I've pretty much shared most of the things I wanted to tell you, and I hope we'll meet again in the next video. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button and feel free to leave a comment below. We can even have a little conversation there. Once again, Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. Take care and may Allah protect you.
Amina's story is a beautiful reminder that guidance often comes quietly and gradually. What began as simple curiosity during her teacher training slowly turned into a deep spiritual journey. Through her friendships with Muslim colleagues, her own search for meaning, and her sincere effort to understand Islam, her heart slowly opened to the truth. By the time she stood in a mosque in Gambia and recited the Shahada, it was not a sudden decision, it was the natural result of years of learning, reflection, and inner growth. Today, as she continues learning step by step, practicing her faith, and building her life as a Muslim, Amina's journey shows that when someone sincerely searches for truth, Allah guides their heart in the most beautiful way. Take care and goodbye.